Today we have a big guest with us today, Steve Stanulis. A main producer, well known for his movies, all your career. Big journey, very special. I always admire people who have differentiality in the market. He started NYPD, then bodyguard, and then movie producer. Steve, how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I actually like your intro music. I was starting to get into it. I was starting to move pop my head a little bit. So, yeah, you kind of got me into the mood. So, yeah, good intro music there, bud. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it very much for your time to being here with us today. So, Steve, you have a very interesting journey.
Mhm.
People who don't know you, you start in NYPD, and then you were bodyguard for different personalities, and then you start as movie producer. So, tell us a bit about your journey.
Well, you left out a couple big ones there, bud.
Okay,
You left out
let's
you
talk
left
about
out
that.
Chippendales,
Oh,
which
okay.
which was no, and again, and obviously, directing and acting, in bigger films as well. But no, I listen. I've had a very, Forrest Gumpian type of life, meaning, I was always kind of in the right place at the right time. Um, it all started when I was in college. My first day of college, I sat next to this guy in college, and I think it was a sociology class, and we just kind of hit it off. We were talking. We actually was seated next to each other, and we both into working out, and I basically had, I was looking for a job. I was 18, and he's like, well, if you're looking, I might have something you might be interested in. And I'm like, well, what do you do? And he's like, I work at Chippendales. I'm like, what? So he goes, well, are you interested? And I said, well, yeah. So I went to a show,
Okay.
and I seen, the guys come out, do a show, go into every girl in the crowd, basically jump on top of them and hump them. And the girls would say thank you and give them money. So I was like, yeah, well, yeah, I'm in. So I obviously
Amazing.
started doing that, and my stage name was Steve Savage, and I was actually one of the younger guys.
Okay.
I started a little younger than usual, but yeah, I mean it was cool, and I was one of the main dancers, which was actually really cool, and I was doing it for about a year and a half, and I get called by the police department, NYPD.
Okay.
So again, the funny thing is, I would go to I was in the academy, and the way it worked is you do a day or nights and or a week of nights and a week of days. So when I was doing days, I would still dance. And again, it was pre-social media, so obviously, I never stopped dancing. And I remember being in the academy and getting booked to do the Ricky Lake show, which was a big
Amazing.
show, in the mid '90s. And I did the show. I didn't give a fuck, and I don't know if I could curse on this, but I did it, and nobody cared. It was funny because I was on the Ricky Lake show at a police academy, and anyhow, the whole time I was a cop, I was dancing. I never stopped. Again,
Okay.
if it was now, I would probably been fired because nobody had cameras, nobody had
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
media. So
Yeah.
one day I meet this guy, and he basically says, I have some girls at my place I want you to dance for, my penthouse. And I'm like, okay. And I totally obviously didn't believe him. I thought, so I went downstairs. I was hanging out with the guys, and one of the dancers comes down and says, hey, that guy's waiting for you upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I end up dancing, so I go upstairs, and he's like, I have these girls. And I'm like, dude, I'm a cop. And I show him my shield, and he's like, no, really. So I end up going back to his house, and he get, there's these two hot, like hustler,
Yeah.
playboy looking chicks. And I end up dancing for them and got a little crazy, and he hands me 2 G's. And I was like, wow, for that, I was 20 years old. It might as well have been $1 million.
Right.
And he goes, by the way, would you be interested in working with Leo? Because when he's in New York, I'm his money manager, and he lives with me. So I'm like, yeah, all right, let me know. And whatever. If he never called me again, I just fucking danced for the 2 hottest chicks ever, and he got $2,000 for it. So anyhow, I get a call the very next day, and he's like, Leo's here. He wants to meet you. And this is right after Titanic, right? So,
okay.
So
this was like 2001, right? 2000.
No, it was like 99-ish.
Okay.
99-ish, maybe. Yeah. And anyhow, I'm like, okay, what time do you need me there? And he goes, can you get here at 8? And I'm like, I can't. I'm doing a bachelorette party. Can I get there at 9? So I end up getting there at 10. And again, I walk in, and Leo's there, and it's weird because I have first of all, I have no aspirations to be an actor or anything,
right?
And I'm a stripper cop, and he's one of the bigger actors in Hollywood, and again, it was really nothing in common, and it came up that I had hurt my knee. I tore my ACL as a cop. And he's like, oh, my God, I tore my ACL in Basketball Diaries. You mind if I see your scar? So I'm like, yeah, sure, as long as you don't mind the G-string I'm wearing. And I fucking pull my pants down, and I'm sitting there in a G-string. And that broke the ice. Everybody was dying, laughing, and I was actually, I was in. You know what I mean? That was, and again, the whole thing is because I didn't give a fuck or shit. If I was like, oh my God, I got to be there on time and meet Leo, or oh my God, I got to make this happen, it would never happen. The fact that I didn't care, the fact that I got there late, the fact that I, pulled my pants down, was actually the reason why everything happened. You know what I mean? So, anyway, with that being said, I'm trying to give you a fast version because there's a lot of crazy things. But I end up, there was a thing called the Pussy Posse. Right, so it was basically Leo, Ice-T, not Ice-T, I'm sorry, Leo, Lucas Haas, Toby Maguire, Q-Tip, and that was like the crew that went out every night. But the cool thing was I was with them, and I did whatever they did. It wasn't like I was security. I was more like part of the crew. Right. But I had a shield and a gun. God forbid, we went places and somebody bothered us. So it was all cool. And again, obviously the money manager, well, again, that's a whole nother crazy story. But whoever, we went out all the time, and I met some guy. His name was Dylan Sellers, and he was doing a movie called The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman. And he asked me, do you play football? And I'm like, yeah, I played in high school. He's like, you'd be great for the backup quarterback. And I'm like, okay. And then a week later, I'm with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman, and I'm, in the Baltimore Ravens Stadium, which is a big NFL team. And I got my first gig, and then kind of the second thing happened with Gangs of New York, where I got to hang out with the Butcher, with, obviously Daniel Day-Lewis. And I was one of his henchmen, but he was always in character as the Butcher,
right?
So he ended up winning the Oscar. So I was kind of off on a good trajectory with my stuff, and then I said, "Wow, I better go to acting school because one day they're going to give me something, and I'm just not gonna, be prepared." So I started going to acting class. Okay. And then what happened was, again, I was with everybody. I was the A-list guy that because of Leo, anybody that was big in '99, I worked with. If Cameron Diaz, REM, Michael Stipe, Alanis Moore, anybody that was a name. And I was great. I was with Michael Ovitz. I'd be hanging. And the funny thing is, I'd be Michael Ovitz one day on a yacht, and then I would be running through the streets in a project, running through urine stained. I had like the crazy life. I mean, if I was, if social media existed back then, I would be like the fucking guy. I would have been the guy on social media, because I was just, you couldn't even believe the criteria. I was with the tip of the top of the world, and 12 hours later, I was running through the projects, chasing drug dealers. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
So what happened was everything was going great, and then the guy who was the money manager ended up getting indicted for embezzling funds of all these stars.
Right.
It was like one of the biggest cases pre-Madoff, Bernie Madoff. So I lost all my access. So now, now I'm like, now I got the bug, right? And now, now I have to audition like anybody else. And I'm like, wait, what? What's an audition? So I ended up I had to get an agent, a manager, and I started working on, I was on the Sopranos. I started doing shows like that.
Okay.
But I was always the same, always getting cast for the same thing. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you know what? I can do more than this. I know I have the ability to be more than the cop or the gangster, and I started creating my own shorts.
Sure. Back
then, in the beginning, and it was just to show you how different times are. When you were creating something, you couldn't be the actor, the producer, the director. You couldn't do all that. It looked like it was a vanity piece back then. Right. So the funny thing again, in like 2000, 2001, too, the only thing is there was no platforms yet, right? So it was like either get into a film festival, get a theatrical release, or go to Blockbuster. If not, nobody saw your shit. It was like, oh, let me upload it to YouTube, right? So, so I did one or two short films. I got reviewed and, got a lot of accolades, but, it's film festivals. Nobody really cares unless it's a huge film festival. So I ended up doing that. And then I started my first feature. And then basically from there, it started taking off. So, that was like the first piece, that was the first thing, that kind of launched me to doing a lot of my own stuff.
Right.
And then, and obviously as time went on, I started doing bigger projects. I started my own company. I had written a play that went to Vegas about my time as a stripper, which went really well. And we wrote a book, Sex and the Shield, which did really well. It was based on my time, as a cop and stripper, all the crazy stories. And then again, we just started getting bigger and bigger. And then again, I'm going really fast with these stories. And then, 15 years later, I get a call that they want me to work with Kanye.
Okay.
And do a fashion, for Fashion Week. And then that became a nightmare because I knew what it was like to work with DiCaprio and all of them, and to work with Kanye was a totally different animal. You know what I mean? And there's thousands of stories between him and I, but he ended up suing me for trying to hit on Kim for $30 million, and then like I said, that became like a worldwide story. Believe it or not, it went global. It really did. I'm not even being, over exaggerative. And then again, from there, basically, we went back to shooting some films.
Sure.
Which I directed and produced, and then which is Fifth Borough, which is going to Netflix, which is Clinton Road, which is a documentary with wasted talent. Chronicle of a Serial Killer, and then the last film we did called Monica with Patricia Clarkson was actually nominated for 3 Spirit Awards and 1 Venice.
Congratulations!
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it was cool. So I mean, again, it's a crazy story. It's tough to tell everything in one sitting,
sure,
unless we focus on one thing. But yeah, so I mean, that was kind of the journey in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot, I left out. But yeah, that's kind of brought you up to speed and as fast as I could in 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
So,
So
how was your personal experience with all this? Because you had a lot of up and downs, big shifts, rapidly. How did you feel, doing all these changes in your career?
again, they were all transitional things, which was, I mean, again, think about it. I'm an 18-year-old kid. Well, just break it into one of the other. I'm an 18-year-old kid, right? And all of a sudden, there's 500 screaming girls, and yeah, I was never so nervous being backstage. Great, get ready to go on to strip and take my clothes off. So that was nutty. That was a big transition. Into going into the police department, which again was a little more structured, obviously, and again, it was still a different time because there was no cell phone cameras,
Right.
so it was a different type of job. Not that we did anything wrong; it's just that we didn't have to worry about every little move we made. Somebody was recording us, so
But,
it was
I
a
mean,
little.
I really admire your skill because we're talking about totally differential, like bipolar work. One is police officer, the other one is working, as a stripper, as movie. So there's no relation between the two, and we are doing both at the same time. I mean,
Right.
it's really admiring. That's
Right, and then you transition into working with every A-lit Boone Pickens, who's
right,
like one of the biggest oil people, oilers in the world. Hanging out with him in Bond Street in New York, and then going, like I said, then waking up and going into work, and you're chasing drug dealers. So again, all of those dynamics were crazy, and then obviously, working that, doing all that, and then being across from Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman.
right.
You know what I mean? And again, it's not like I had huge dialogue, thank God. But even just having two lines, and but opposite Gene again, Keanu Reeves is awesome, as is Gene Hackman.
Right.
But again, at that point in time, as awesome as Keanu Reeves is, and and he's one of my favorites. And legendary. At that point, it was the person that made me more nervous of the two was Gene Hackman, because he was around forever, and being opposite of Gene Hackman was like, wow, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, being across from both, and actually, it was funny because the female role at the time was supposed to be Sandra Bullock, and she. I don't know what happened, but obviously it became somebody else. But yeah, again, it was a fun shoot, and there was some other great people in that film that came out of there. But like I said, even that transition was like, what? And then obviously going from that to hanging out with Daniel Day-Lewis,
Right.
As the butcher, it's like, what? You know what I mean? I'm like, this is fucking crazy, again. And again, at that point, I really didn't have much behind me as far as, again, I don't want to placate like I had huge roles in these things. I was throughout the film, but if I said 5 lines, it was a lot. So I don't want to make it look like I was the star, because I was not. But again, at that time, to have no training and to be next to somebody who's going to eventually, at that point in time, win the Oscar for that role,
Right.
was pretty fucking surreal.
Yeah, a big move. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, and having all that at my fingertips, and then losing it all, and then having to, now actually have to audition and stuff, was another whole thing, and going to acting classes and doing all these different things, all crazy, all crazy transitional steps that were taken. Again, even working with the camera, working with all these people on a daily, seeing how they really are and knowing how they really are, and yeah. And again, it would be funny because I would be doing something so crazy,
right,
and outlandish, and then being in a police call with my partner the next day, and I didn't even want to tell him because me saying it was so outlandish. Like, hey, guess what I did last night? I was with Hugh Hefner and it's like, what? Get the, you know what I mean? It's like, get out of here. So yeah, it was a crazy life. And again, if there was a YouTube channel back then or a social media back then, I would have been tough to beat. Right. With the lifestyle I was involved with, you know what I mean?
Did your colleagues knew about your other part of life, or are you just reserved and just some?
No, I mean, a lot of them knew. A lot of them knew. But again, as far as the dancing, they all knew. And as far as the other stuff I was doing, yeah. I mean, did I share every detail of what I was doing?
Yeah, of course.
No. But did they have an idea of who I was, rolling with? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, and again, it was just, it was surreal. It was, cool. I've had people ask me to write like books, like tell-all books.
Right.
Which I would never do. But, I even got reached to do a biopic with that whole time, which would be actually super interesting. But, yeah. I mean, it was a crazy 20 years. And, even with the whole Kanye thing, it became so like we were attached at the hip for whatever reason. And I know he's going, he's back and with a vengeance, saying crazy things.
Right.
Again, everybody approached me like we said offline, Page 6, TMZ, Daily Mail, to get my comments, and I just I didn't want to go down that road again. I'm like, live and let live, and I just don't want to. I don't want to entertain that anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because, like I said, the naysayers were basically saying I was using him as a platform, which, again, that's the press. So the fact that I have zero interest shows at the end of the day, I let him do what he wants to do. I have, what am I going to add to the story that he made his wife get naked at an award show? What am I going to say? You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Did that affect you personally in any how, or is just for you just something that?
Well, the fucking thing is, he's trying to sue me for $30 million, and I only have $29.5 million. That would have sucked because I would have been, I would have had a situation there. But no, I'm only kidding. I don't have $29.5 million to give away. But the point is, no, it didn't affect me at all because it was all blown up, as you know, by the media and the paparazzi and the whole shit. And you know what it is? They played the whole story that, I was a Chippendale, so it was not that secured, executive protection officer tries to hit on Kanye. It was Kanye, yeah. Actually tries to hit on Cam. It was ex-Chippendale. That was the big shtick, in the press, which I don't even know how they found that out, but it's not hard, obviously, to figure that out if you Google me. So yeah, with all that stuff, so that was the whole angle, which made it more interesting. If I was just a regular security guy, it wouldn't have been as big of a story.
Yeah. I guess, I think some situations and some news become news because it may be interesting for audience. In the end, it's a combination of both. It depends on what you do, how far you are. Because, for example, if there's news about the president of the country is one thing. if there's news about a guy is doing delivery, that's no news. So in the end, it's kind of like a combination of both, I guess. I
Yeah,
mean,
no doubt.
I always advise, just let it go and let it go his course, as I always say. So you played major roles lately in some movies that are already out on Netflix. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we did a great film called Fifth Borough, which if you're not familiar with New York, uh, it's Staten Island is the fifth borough because Staten Island is always like out of the boroughs, it's the one that's always the fifth borough, the forgotten borough, whatever. It's the smallest of the five,
Yeah.
and it's the only not I don't want to say rural because it's not, but it's the only like residential type of borough as opposed to the other four. So it's a great place to shoot. I was born there because there's high risers, there's houses, there's woods, there's a lot of great places to shoot. And it was basically, we had a great cast. I mean, Tara Reid played my wife.
Okay.
James Russo was in it, who's a legendary actor. Federico Castelluccio, who's was in The Sopranos. There's so many. I don't want to disturb
How was your
anybody.
experience in The Sopranos, by the way?
Again, it was great, and that was still early, so I didn't have a huge. I went for a bigger role. I ended up with a smaller one, but I did get to work with Gandolfini. And again, to be on an iconic show, which was really cool. And again, I don't want to say Forrest Gumpian. And I'm going to say something that's, might be. I was never a big fan. Not that wasn't a big fan of the show. I just didn't really watch it, which again is funny, right? Another Forrest Gumpian type of thing. There's people that can tell you show for show, word for word. Tell the people could tell me my lines, my 10 lines in the show. I just wasn't. I didn't. Not that I didn't like it. I just wasn't. I didn't watch it. I wasn't a big. So probably the fact that I didn't watch it. It was probably easier. Where if I was like, oh my god, I love this show. I got to be on this show. Right. I had gone for a much bigger role, which was Tony Soprano's bodyguard.
Okay.
I was one of three, final three, and we went to Silver Cup Studio. It was me and two bald guys.
Right.
So I'm like, they either want me, and they would just want to have the two bald guys to throw it off, or I'm the fucking guy that's to throw off the guy with the hair. So they ended up going with one of the other guys, but David Chase liked me. So they knew I was a cop, so they gave me a police officer role. But it was funny because Gandolfini and I shared the same acting coach.
Okay.
So I ended up getting to work with Gandolfini, and once I told him, that I worked with this guy Harold Guskin, who was a brilliant coach. He kind of he took me in by his wing, and said, so he was awesome. And the best part of that whole experience was we do a table read. Everybody in the episode, is at a table with the script, and everybody, introduces themselves. So it's like, hey, I'm David Chase. I'm the producer, writer. And he sits down and says, hey, I'm James Gandolfini. I play Tony Soprano. And hi, I'm Edie Falco. I play, and so on and so forth. So everybody that was in an episode goes around, introduces themselves by name and who they're playing. So I got to meet, pretty much most of the cast that was in the episode.
Right.
And got friendly with a lot of them. And, over the years, there's been a couple guys from that show that have been in a couple of my projects that I produced, like Vinny Pastore, who played Big Pussy. Right. Obviously, I just mentioned Federico, who obviously was the hitman that was hitting on Edie Falco's character, which obviously Mrs. Soprano, and definitely a couple others. But yes, that was both experiences were great. That cast was phenomenal in Fifth Borough. It was a very authentic cast.
Right.
There's so there was Vincent Young was in it from Beverly Hills 90210, Lilo Brancato from Bronx Tale. It was again, there's still thousands of people I'm not thinking of. Everybody in the cast, Constantine Maroulis, who was American Idol, and then Rock of Ages. It just the list went on. It was a really, really cool cast. We all kind of hit it off immediately.
Right.
And we had a blast shooting that one, and it's going to Netflix, and I'm proud of that one. That's a great one.
During your shooting in the Fifth Borough, what was the most moments that you remember that had more action or more intriguing? What was more insightful for you?
I mean, again, there was a lot. I mean, there was a few times we had shot this place where it was a big controversial location where the police had an altercation with some African American guy, and he ended up getting killed.
Sure.
It was big. It was big, and maybe hindsight being 2020. We shouldn't have shot there because basically the scene was two undercover cops are talking to an African American guy, and I guess people, I don't know how, I have no idea how people thought it was real because there's all fucking cameras around and lights and this and that, but they started getting rowdy and throwing shit at us, rocks and all these different things. It got crazy. And we ended up had to move locations.
Happening during the shooting?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, and again, I don't know how people didn't realize it was fake, because again, there's cameras, there's lighting, there's craft service, there's everything. It wasn't the best neighborhood, maybe to shoot, but with that being said, that was a little scary. We had to leave. We ended up shooting it somewhere else. That and basically the camaraderie on set was another big thing I won't forget, because a lot of those people I'm still friendly with. Again, the funny thing is with films is it falls into three categories. There's some movies that you meet people and you hit it off right away and you're friends forever. Then there's some movies where you have a lot of people that you just kind of, you're more associates with, and then when the movie's on, you kind of go, and then there's people you just don't, you just have nothing in common with, and a lot of those guys I had kept in touch with, and even like I said, DMX and Chronicle of a Serial Killer, we just hit it off immediately, which is bizarre because of my background and his background, but it was just somebody we maintained a good friendship until obviously he passed. But yeah, like I said, all those things organically happen, so yeah. So again, that was probably the two things that come to mind was the chemistry, the authenticity of the cast.
Yeah.
And then obviously that particular time when we were shooting where it got a little out of control.
And after that, what are the projects were you involved in similar roles or different roles, and what are you expecting in future productions?
Yeah, sure. Just shortly after we did that, we did a film called Chronicle of a Serial Killer.
Okay.
Which again had an amazing cast. Like I said, DMX being one of them. And again, he was great. DMX is great at just being DMX, and DMX played a cop.
Sure.
And Dominique Swain was in it. She was great.
Amazing.
Again, I always gravitate towards James Russo. James played a great role. And again, that was another great cast. I just can't. I don't want to leave. I don't want to name too many because I'm leaving people out. But that was a very that was a lot of fun. That got released. It's doing well. We also did Great Kills, which is a something that is it's almost like The Office with a hitman. It's total improv, and we did season 1, and it did really well. I mean, IMDb, all these other things. I think the ratings are really high. And we just finished season 2. Again, it had Kathy Moriarty, Bai Ling, Eric Roberts. Again, a blast because when you shoot with doing total improv, you never know where it's going to go. And we had a lot of laughs on those sets. And I'm hearing we're doing a season 3, which is awesome. And we're gonna, I heard the cast is even going to get more well known. And we have another project, Red Money, which I'm happy about, which is great. It's the only project that I've tried to do that didn't go because of COVID, and it lost its legs. And that one we had Jason Patrick, we had Dolph Lundgren, we had
oh, okay.
Oh my God, Megan Fox. We had Kevin Dillon. So that one I was excited about doing. Busta Rhymes was in it. Okay. And then there's another horror film. It's not a really horror. It's more of a psychological thriller called Freak Off.
Okay.
Which is based on snuff films, but it's wild. It's really done well. It's it's like any horror film or psychological thriller. It's 3 or 4 great films meshed into one. So it's like Saw. It's like it's American Psycho. It's Silence of the Lambs. There's a lot of Sixth Sense. So there's a lot of things within that movie which I'm excited about. So there's a lot of good things happening as well.
What is for you the best type of movie that you like to produce, and the best type of role you as an actor? I mean, what is the most common type that you most like in doing?
Well, I am drawn to darker films.
Okay.
I do like psychological thrillers.
Okay.
Horror is okay too. The problem with dramas, they're great. They're tough sells in the market. Dramas and comedies are tough. Especially romantic comedies. I would say I'm drawn to darker psychological thrillers first. I would love to do that all-out action film, but again, that with those you kind of need crazy money. So as an actor, I'd love to do one of those. As a producer, same, an action. Director, I like to stay in my lane, and I would love to do a high budgeted psychological thriller like a Seven.
Okay.
Or one of those type. Which was one of my favorite films, but something in that world. I love Seven. And I love the what's in the box type endings because that's life. You know what I mean? It doesn't all. We don't have it doesn't. It's very rare that we all sing Kumbaya, and the guy gets the girl, or the princess gets whatever it is. I kind of like.
I guess in the end, the audience is more attracted to similar things that are most common to reality, right? I mean,
yes.
So yeah.
I like the shock. I like a little shock value at the end. I like to leave people like, wow, it didn't happen the way, whatever it is, even the Fifth Borough. This guy does this guy was a former, criminal.
Right.
He cleaned himself up. He did everything he can. His daughter was sick.
Right.
right? Does the right thing, tries to do everything to save his daughter. No matter what he did at the end, he gets a call that she'd overdosed.
Right.
So, so again, it's very Carlito's way. Everything's said and done. He's out of it. He's finally out of it, and he gets killed. Those are the type of things I'm kind of drawn to. Not everybody likes that. Everybody, wants people like to go to the audience and forget life for a while and see the happy ending. So, again, it's what makes the world go round. You know what I mean?
Of course. By the way, these movies are already out, right? They're already in the platform.
Oh yeah, they're on every major platform. Yeah, you can see any of those. Depending on which film it is, and if you went to IMDb, it pretty much tells you all the places. If you had a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you every place all those films are at. You know what I mean? That's funny. We went from like I told you, 99, we had nothing. And now I can't tell you where things are. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah.
Congratulations for all the achievements. I mean, in the end, it's a real story. A person that started from zero and achieving now movies that are all in major platforms, major productions. So, I mean, congratulations for.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's really a big thing. I mean, for people who don't understand, a person with struggles, especially in this type of sector, there's a lot of competition everywhere. So it inflicts, having connections, having money, there's a lot of things. And when you don't have them, you just have the skills. And your skills got you where you wanted. Just by your own skills, and most of the times without the help of no one, So it's really admiring how you achieve. It's something really, which is differentiality with comparing most people out there. When you have everything, it's easier to get anywhere. But when you start from zero to get there, that's a big journey. This is a really admiring.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's funny because one time I said something, again, it was taken totally out of context. I said something in the vein of what I do is better than Scorsese, but that's not what I said. What I said was, if Scorsese at this point in his career had to do on an independent set, what an independent director has to do. Because he doesn't have the luxury, meaning an independent director, of having he's got X amount of shoots, scenes he's got to shoot before he moves on. He doesn't have the ability to shoot the shit out of it all different ways. If it takes a whole day, that it takes a whole day. He doesn't have a first AD, a second AD, a third AD, a script supervisor. He's got maybe, if he's lucky, a first AD, maybe a second AD, no script supervisor, nothing compared to what he has, which again, he's one of the best, and that he's earned all that. But what I'm saying is, if you took him out of there today and put him in on an independent set,
sure,
I don't think he would be as comfortable. Because you get used to all that stuff. You just sit back. Money's not an issue. You have all these people around you helping you. It makes it a lot easier. And that's what I meant. And, that was another big stink of me saying something. And it obviously got, whatever. I have this preponderance for people coming, misquoting me.
And for what you said, that's what I get on.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, I'll stick to that part. It's not that easy. You know what I mean?
No, of course. So, Stephen, if you, now of course there's a big audience out there. There's a lot of actors. Sometimes, thinking around, not doing anything, a lot of competition. what would you advise, to fellow actors or producers or people involved in, in movie sector, what they should do in order to get success or, to get achievements as you did?
Um, yeah, it's a great question. Like I said, I touched on it a little before. One is it has never been easier to get your work seen. Back, like I said, back in the day, you didn't have all these platforms. The devil's advocate to that is everybody has that now, right? So now you can put it out, but now how do you separate it from the 50,000 other people that uploaded their shit the same time you did? So, and then again, you have a chick that comes out and says "hot tooey" about giving a blowjob, and she's she's out there singing national anthems at the Mets game. So, again, with that being said, I would basically say, obviously, it's always important to have good reps, but don't wait on your reps. Obviously, continue to create your own stuff. Continue to make yourself, indispensable.
Right.
Learn everything about the business. Don't just be the actor. Don't be. If learn how to direct, learn how to produce, learn how to line produce, learn how to shoot, learn how to be a DP, learn how to. So no matter what, you are, you bring value to anything, and I just never understood the guys that just wait for the phone to ring, waiting for somebody to give them a call or get that knock. It's just unrealistic, and to do that, life's fast.
Yeah.
Shame on you if that's what you do.
Yeah.
Just like yourself, you're doing what you're doing. We discussed offline all the amazing things you're doing. You're not sitting back waiting for somebody to do it for you. You're just taking the steps, and that's what you got to do. You have to take steps every day, and it's a grind. But listen, if you're not ready to grind, you're not ready to fucking act. You're not ready to be in this business, and there's no such thing as an overnight success. You might just because you heard somebody's name for the first time. I'm talking about acting. I'm talking about like somebody does something stupid on TikTok, like a bottle flip, and now everybody, something went. I'm talking about doing something artistic and creative. There's no such thing as an overnight success. You show me somebody who just came out of nowhere. I guarantee you they've had a body of work that they've been going at it for a little bit of time. You're just hearing about them now, but it would be to create your own work. Don't wait for the phone to ring. Put yourself out there. Network, social media. Don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Yeah.
Worst they can say is no, right? Don't be a pain in the ass. On the same token, but when you're being a pain in the ass. So.
I always say to people, don't wait for the opportunity because you need to chase it. Sitting around is wasting time. I always say that to everyone.
Here's a good saying.
If you want something, you need to go and reach for it. You need to fight for it, and you need to go on reach your goals, right? And don't be afraid of rejection. It's part of life. Not everyone's going to like you or whatever it is. Don't take it personally.
Right.
Take it part as experience as you go in steps of your life. And there's no failure. What people consider failure, for me, I always say to everyone, failure does not exist. It's part of the experience that didn't get you where you wanted. So that's the path that is not the correct one. So keep being perseverant and continue to follow your steps until you reach your goal. And if it takes 100 times, you do it 100 times. If it takes 200 times, you do it 200 times. And it's all part of the journey and experience. I guess it's what it separates an amount of people from the crowd, because being perseverant, having mindset of fulfilling your goals and pursuing your goals all the time, no matter what, it's hard to find people like that. So I really admire you because you are like that. You wanted the
Thank you. I
goal. You
appreciate it.
didn't know what you had to do. You got it. And if you did it 200 or 300 times, it didn't matter. You still wanted to reach there, and you got it. So this is just an example that this is reality, and it can be done. And this is what I tell to people most of the time: nothing is impossible. It's only impossible if you believe it is impossible. Nothing is impossible to achieve. You can do it. You just need to put the work on, and don't wait for the work come to you. You need to chase it and fulfill it to achieve your goals and your success. And just to meditize this part is never take that as failure when it doesn't work. It's always experience. So in the future, you won't have regrets for what you've done in the past, for what you've done, and always commit. Because if you don't start, you won't know. You need to start something to know how it is, the experience, and to tell after, well, it didn't work, but I tried it. So I tried the next one. But then in the future, you won't say, oh, maybe I should have done that, or I should have done that. No, just do it. When something appears in your mind or something appears in front of you, you just do it and try it. If you don't like it, it doesn't work, fine. Then you know it doesn't work. But if you don't try it, you never know. And that's what I say to people.
Absolutely. And like I said, here's a saying that we just created. Don't wait for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Be the opportunity.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. Absolutely.
No, but no. Listen, I always tell people, don't talk shit, create shit. So yeah, that's really, we were saying the same thing. You can't just wait. You just have to make your own opportunities, and there's so many ways to do it. You know what I mean?
So, Steve, what are your future plans, and where you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Well, my future plans is to fucking take over the whole world.
Nice.
That's
nice.
no.
Can I be part of that?
Yeah. No. It's to again, and unless AI just fucking knocks everything out. It's just just to keep growing. The company, it's continue to grow the budgets, continue to make each project better than the last one.
Yeah.
And come to the opportunity where after every project is successful, more and more people are like, well, what are you doing next? Because I want to be a part of it. So in 5 years, it's depending on if you're talking about producing, acting, directing, it's it's to be either Michael Mann, Scorsese,
right,
or I'm being facetious. It's to be the best Steve Stanulis that I can be. I don't want to be Michael Mann. I don't want to be Scorsese. I want to have my own stamp and have the opportunity where whatever I make, it's me to fuck up. It's not because I didn't have enough budget. It's not because I had the time. I had a rush. So it's to get to the point where money is not an issue, and it's the studio's like, listen, just do the best you could do. Don't worry about time constraints. Don't worry about financial constraints. Don't worry about people coming in your ear that one of the actors has a food allergy. Don't give a fuck about that. Just worry about doing you.
Yeah.
So that's where I want to be. I want to be the best Steve Stan. And you know what? In 5 years, if that's not the case, I've done enough stuff where I was like, wow, that's cool. I made films. I wrote a play that was successful, reviewed by the Times, went to Vegas, wrote a book, worked with the biggest stars in Hollywood. I'm good. I'm out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So either way, I'm happy.
Right, right. Interesting. So, Steve,
And again, I see you have a lot of great guys that we mutually know. I don't know if you interviewed them already or going to.
yeah,
They're in different phases than I am. Um, age wise, experience wise, um, and they're all great guys. And I look forward to those guys seeing what they can accomplish. Um, and like Jake and Jensen, right? And
yeah, yeah.
I think you have a couple other people coming on. And that was me 10, 15 years ago. So
Right.
I look forward to see what they can do as well. And like I said, I think if they just stick to the plan of what you and I just discussed, the sky's the limit for those guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I always, ask my guests to say a power message before we leave the show. So, what will be your power message today?
To the audience or to
To the audience, the power message. Yeah,
my power message?
yeah,
Uh, my power message is if you dream out loud and just go. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than being on your rocking chair at 85,
right.
whether you're a female or a male, and saying, man, I wish I would have, or I wish I could have. I'd rather fail, right? And say I tried than play it safe because I was worried about what other people were thinking and never have tried. So fail hard, fuck everybody else because it's the only business that nobody's happy for you. Very rare that you have friends that are going to be happy. So take that mentality and just do the best you. You do you and dream.
It's unfortunate that society actually is like that. Just one last thought. Why do you think that society became so envy from other people that are having success, and you think that actually that could change?
Not in the entertainment business. No,
No,
and it's not something that just became. This is something that's always been.
right,
And again, just instead of being happy for somebody that they got a role, or being happy that they're being successful, whatever they're doing,
yeah,
because it's a big world. You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with you. That should be a motivational factor. That if they're doing it, hey, I could do it. But most people take that stance as why that happened for him and not me, and it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. You know what I mean? And that's never. I don't think that's ever going to change. So, again, it just makes my point stronger that
right,
don't worry about what other people say. The higher you go up,
yeah.
the more critics and haters you're going to have. So if you have a lot of haters,
I mean, I can tell you a story for sure. I mean, since I started to have, the audience that's from my news, some I got, to know after, my previous Instagram account was canceled, because I was reported many times. So, I mean, you have a result right there, so it's something stupid, but I mean, it happened. Yeah.
right? If you don't have a lot of haters, then you worried about having friends. This is not the right business. So embrace the haters. That means you're doing. That means you're doing something. When you're taking up space in somebody else's mind, that's when you're succeeding. So that's my words of wisdom.
I'm still wondering because I did have a report saying that 221 people reported.
It's crazy, right? For what?
For having
what?
podcasts on the frame, because you see my Instagram, there's nothing in there, right? It's only podcast. So what have you report? I was reported 221 times, and my previous account was deleted. So what I did was just convert all information back then to a new account, and that's what I did. So yeah,
Crazy,
yeah. Just
crazy.
an example. Yeah,
That shows you're doing something right, brother.
it's it's what makes me think. In the end, all I try to do is help people. Try to make impulse from real people like you for them to see that there's always a possibility and nothing actually is impossible to do. Just don't stand around there, because the society is like very, for me, it's become like slow, and people just became like losing motion and not running to things, and doing things what they want to do. So I was just trying to make that impulse, and suddenly, when it became like really active, people starting to report it. I mean, it's like, what am I doing wrong? So I'm doing things for people, and people are reporting me. It's crazy, right? But I
Yes,
mean, I don't care. It's the way it is, I guess.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But we live to tell the tale, right, Julio?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
So,
for me, I'm really have, I really have, I think I have really a stealth mindset. I was through a lot of stuff during my life. I did a lot of stuff until last year was 51 countries where I deployed projects. And of course, there's thousands of histories. So you have the haters, you have the people who like you. People who like you really like you, and then people who hate you really hate you. It's like there's no in between.
no,
And for people to understand, that's what you need to do. Don't care about what people say about you or don't say. Don't expect people to say anything to you. Just do what you do, continue to do what you do, and impulse yourself where you want to, get in. That's how I always say. Because people like you. I mean, yeah, I mean, they can like you for what you do. Do they really like you in deep? I mean, there's a few people you can find like very close friends, family, etc. But most of the things is just appearance. It's for people just being around, because in the end they expect a result that will help them to achieve whatever they want. And this is the most common thing you find in society. Is that really needed? I always say to people, you don't need to do that. If you want to achieve something, achieve it by yourself. Don't expect anyone else to come or take advantage of someone else to achieve it. It's pointless. And unfortunately, this is how society, it's been going, right? I mean, you must have a lot of stories like these too. So
oh, absolutely, without a
yeah,
doubt, without a doubt. I mean,
and
again, that is a little too many to get into right now. But
no,
yeah,
no, no,
without
of
a
course.
doubt.
It is what it is. In the end, it's a journey, it's a life story, and you just need to go through. I mean, and the differentialities, you just need to fight for what you want. Do it, on your own way. Just follow through your path, and continue to do it until you achieve your goals. That's where I leave the message today before we shut down. Steve, was really a pleasure to have you here. I really enjoy your story. I think many people that are watching really appreciate this too. I appreciate all the thoughts that you gave, to people today from your experience. And you have an admirer, which is me. Keep me posted on all your work. And I really admire you, and I'm proud of what you achieved in your life, man. I really am.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, thank you so much. And it was an absolute pleasure as well.
Thank you so much. So catch you on, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll
Don't
talk to you
don't leave.
soon.
Don't leave.